All right, so we just talked about a pretty exciting game between the Steelers and the and the Browns, but let's talk about the Bengals and the Colts. So I don't think this one is going to be anywhere near as exciting because, for one, we're talking about a team with a rookie quarterback, and now we're talking about the best defense in the league. I know it's crazy, but at this point, at least from a fantasy perspective, the Colts have been absolutely lights out at slowing down fantasy options, and their offense is doing nobody any favors by being one of the slowest in the league. So in terms of fantasy options here, you're going to have to temper your expectations until we start seeing some seismic shifts in how this team wants to function. The Colts have been the best team at stopping quarterbacks, tight ends, the third best team at stopping running backs, and they're also allowing the 26th most points to receivers. So they've just been lights out across the board. Bengals defense has actually been a little bit stingy as well against quarterbacks and receivers. They've been a little bit more exploitable at the running back and the tight end position. So we'll keep that in mind when we talk about our starts and our sits. The Colts are favored to win this one by 7.5, and I think that's a little ridiculous. Just seeing how the Bengals have been playing, yes, they got bowled over by the Ravens, but I don't think the Colts are as scary, especially not offensively, as we may have once thought. We saw them struggle against the Bears, who really struggled to put up anything last week. So I do think the Colts they're better on defense than people want to give them credit for, but their offense has been really poor. So in terms of who we're starting this week, on the Bengals side, you're pretty much locked into starting Joe Mixon and Tyler Boyd at this point because they can go off at any point. I'm just not excited starting really anyone else in this week. I guess if you had to convince me or had to say you had to start one more guy, of course you're going to go with T. Higgins. AJ Green may not even play this week, but it's looked like he's completely given up on the team. That interception from Marcus Peters was a ridiculous play. AJ Green just completely gave up, and I don't think he's going to see the field this week. They may even look to trade him, although I don't know that they're going to get anyone to be able to take him at that contract. So we're not starting Stamp or the Bengals defense either, even though you might be able to convince me to start the Bengals defense if none of the other better options are out there. They just haven't done enough for me to feel confident about it, but I do think this would be a defensive game. Joe Burrow, I do like him as a player, but this should be a rough matchup for him. We're not starting any of the other options. On the Colts side, as we mentioned, the Bengals are more exploitable in the run game than anywhere else. So Jonathan Taylor remains a good start here. And obviously, if you have the Colts defense, they've been pretty elite at this point. So we're going to keep starting them, especially here at home. Pretty much everywhere else, I'm just not excited. Like Nyheim Hines, a little bit more involved, but he just hasn't looked anywhere near as explosive as he did in that first week. And he hasn't been involved enough in the past game to really make him worth a flex. T.Y. Hilton and Zach Pascal, if one of these guys scores a touchdown, he'll have a decent game. But Phillip Rivers has just been terrible. So it's very hard to trust anyone at this point in the passing game. Trey Burton had 5 targets last week, but just between Burton and Doyle and Alie-Cox, I'm not excited about anyone on this team. Jonathan Taylor has been moderately good. We're hoping for a bigger game. His blowout, we're still expecting at some point they'll click and start giving him the carries that he needs, getting him on the outside. They've just been running him so boringly, running him up the middle, very rarely getting him in space. Had 3 targets last week, which is good, but he had 6 targets in week 1. He's clearly an explosive playmaker. They've got to find a way to utilize him more if he's going to end up realizing the fantasy value that we think he can have. But at this point, remains a good start against the Bengals. I just expect this to be a pretty low-scoring game, and honestly, I'm calling for the upset. I got the Bengals winning this one tightly. I got the Bengals at 17 and the Colts at 13.